What is going on, good people? I think I may have set a record for the longest interval in between videos. Um, but when one has a relatively obscure YouTube channel, one doesn't necessarily feel I guess, the inspiration to just constantly post and just crank them out like a lot of the guys that do it for a living. So I've relegated myself to just doing it whenever inspiration hits me. And, well, inspiration has hit me. Well, since the last time I made a video, a whole lot of weird things have transpired in the video game world, most notably with Sony and their decision to cease the production of physical game discs in 2028. And that's gone over like a lead balloon with the gaming public because this is the same Sony that absolutely toasted Microsoft during the Xbox One reveal. And it seems like they just decided that all that goodwill that they had built up with their fan base was worth throwing it out the window. Although I do have some thoughts on that. The gaming public at large that's really raising a fuss over this and about how it's more or less turning gaming into a rental instead of something that you can own and you can use for as long as you like after you pay the purchase price are by and large the same folks that have given Sony the notion that this is a viable business model because, as is well documented, physical gaming has been going out the window for a really long time, and folks have largely moved into purchasing games digitally. They're by and large not the collectors that they used to be, and especially this younger generation of gamers, they just don't really have that same connection to the tactile experience. And I say this with the caveat that there actually is a growing number of Gen Z kids who are moving back to analog devices and rediscovering them, and they're starting to realize that, hey, this crap where I pay my money and get something that can be taken away from me at the whim of a corporate executive is kind of crap. And that you're starting to see more of them buying CDs and DVDs, and heck, some are even going back to VHS. And that's why I say I really kind of think moving forward, the future of gaming is going to be the past. But let's be real, a lot of the folks that collect games, um, as I formerly did, have hundreds if not thousands of games in their library that they either never played or really didn't have much of an intention of playing, and they're realizing that there are a lot of fantastic experiences still be had on the seventh, sixth, fifth generation of gaming. And with this heavy-handed approach that Sony's adopted, I see a gold rush in the future for physical media. Now, you do have some outliers now, like GOG Gamer, and I believe I'm saying that correctly, who are making it to where there's a growing number of people who, what they're doing is they're taking these files as they download them, these installation files, and they're burning them to disk, and they're printing their own artwork, and they're making their own games. So maybe homebrew physical media will never quite go away. Anyway, politically, I'm as conservative as they come. Okay, I really am. I'm pretty conservative, although I'm more of what you might call more of a populist conservative, in that I want what's good for people at large, and I don't believe that our economy needs to work for just a small handful at the top. And I'm a big believer in things like labor unions, collective bargaining, things like that, which it used to make me a bit of an outlier within conservative circles, but I think that we're growing in number. There's a lot of people, including my mom, she's a boomer, and she is of that, old school mentality that, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But even she is realizing, kids these days, with the economy being what it is, you can work as hard as you want, and you're lucky to even have boots, let alone the straps to pull yourself up by. And I say all this because Sony is what they're doing is symptomatic of the direction that our economy is heading. And the problem with shareholder economics is that the entire business model is built around gaining more and more and more, an ever increasing piece of the pie. And that's why you're seeing, like with your car companies, the days when cars were built to be reliable are out the window. They used to be marketed as reliable. And then when was the last time you saw a car commercial that talked about anything other than like the newest gizmos and gadgets on the car, but nothing about reliability? They're building them in such a way that you have to take them into the mechanics at the dealerships, because they're the only ones that have the tools and the computers and the software to get whatever's wrong with your car fixed. And it's getting absolutely gross. And I think a lot of people, regardless of their political affiliation, are getting disgusted by it, and they're just washing their hands of the whole thing. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing in gaming really, really soon. I think this is absolutely, excuse me, going to bite Sony in the keister. But moving on, as I said, I'm not really a big collector of games anymore. I recently pared them down even more. I'm looking at them right now. I think I collectively have maybe 150 games. And to some folks, that might actually sound like a lot. But when you consider I used to have like 3,000 games, it just tells you that it's lost its charm for me. But it's been an interesting couple of weeks for me. I don't know if you happen to have caught my little YouTube short that I uploaded about how finding that PlayStation 4 Slim in the trash outside of a local game exchange, taking it home, getting it dusted off, plugging it up, and it worked perfectly. So that was a crazy stroke of luck. And I happened to be off from work today, had a odd middle of the weekday off, which is unusual for me. But wife wanted to go to the local thrift store scene. I said, "Cool, yeah, let's go do that. Have a good morning out." And as I was preparing to make my way toward the front of the store to exit, I'd found a nice set of Black Hawk uh, ratchet set, right? And made in the USA, all steel, $10, and the whole set was there. Now I couldn't pass it up. But as I was walking up the book aisle, a bag caught my attention, and I looked down and I saw a vintage Masters of the Universe figure buzz off, and that got my attention. So I grabbed the entire bag. And yeah, there's all sorts of Masters of the Universe in there, Ninja Turtles, and who knows what else. And I haven't actually opened this up and gone through it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And there's probably going to be some stuff in there that I already have, like Buzz Off. So now I've got two of that guy. Old school Rocksteady. I'm really surprised that Goodwill, A, priced this whole bag for $3, B, even let it get out on the shelf to begin with. I'm going to guess this is some sort of Terminator figure, missing his front piece. Oh, I was wanting one of these. So this came out in 1989 when the Batman movie hit, and this was that Toy Lines version of the Joker. That's cool. I've been wanting one of those. Got some sort of Ghostbusters Winston figure in a spacesuit. I don't know what to do with him. It looks like he's... Oh, that's kind of cool. All right. But yeah, 80s toys and memorabilia and tech is pretty much all I collect now that I have really an interest in. A one-armed Skeletor that has his little waist piece. So I think a little waist piece, if you were to order it off eBay, that alone would have been $5. Too bad I didn't have him. Now I do. This Donatello without his belt. Now I can't tell quite if this is... Yep, I see 1988 stamped on him. This is just a whole bag full of vintage goodies. A thing. Don't know what that is. And I'm not entirely sure what this... I think this may be Lex Luthor. Not sure. It's just a strange bit of luck I've been having lately. I have no clue whatsoever who this guy is. Gonna have to do some digging and learn. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make two piles. I'm gonna make a pile of ones that I don't recognize and a pile of ones that I do. Casey Jones. I'm going to assume he's vintage as well. This a G.I. Joe figure of some sort. Oh, he's got a loose waist. I want to say that's airtight. I could be wrong. Gonna put him in the don't know pile. And some other G.I. Joe. Now this tickles me. A Splinter that still got his little robe and his little belt. Man, there's quite a few G.I. Joes in here. Oh, they are loose though. Think they're going to need new rubber bands. Again, don't know who this guy is. I'll find out. Into the don't know pile, but he did come with his gun. And I'm guessing this is Porn Star G.I. Joe? Don't know. You'd think that I'd recognize these more than I do, being as how I grew up with G.I. Joe, but I was always more of a Transformers and Thundercats kid. This looks like some sort of Cobra Trooper of some sort. I'm really going to have to do some looking. I have no idea. This guy's ridiculous, though. If any of you recognize any of these characters, please let me know in the comments. Just give me an idea how stupid I am. I guess this is special education helmet guy. Now this I recognize. I want to say that this was from the Kenner Superpowers line, and he had like a flesh mask in there that would lay in. I actually had him as a kid, but I don't recall what his name is, but I do recognize him. Another G.I. Joe. What's up with all these G.I. Joes that I don't recognize? Another one. Oh, Kenner Superpowers. And absolutely love this line. The Riddler. I cannot begin to tell you how stoked I was. And then there's this. I don't know if this is like Lassie or just a generic dog. And last but not least, a RoboCop, which I guess he must have had some sort of cap feature you could load into his back. Doesn't have his helmet. That's okay. I have another RoboCop that doesn't have his helmet. But yeah, excuse me for a second. I am pretty happy with all that. It's been a good couple of weeks on the retro front and the free video game console front. And I guess that's really all I got for y'all. I just kind of wanted to show off my scores, man. It's just, that was an insane score for $3. That may be the best $3 score I've ever gotten in my life. But anyway, as always, pick your battles, because not every hill is worth dying on, and I will catch you on the next one whenever that happens. Take it easy.